Hello everyone and welcome to SAL. Today we are going to be doing an amazing chapter, resources and development. A quick side note, if you are starting to study this chapter at the end of your boards, like many will, please I'd request for you to skip this chapter and concentrate on more important chapters like minerals and energy resources and etc. All right, so we'll also cover those chapters because they are the important ones in which you're going to be getting 3 markers, 5 markers and etc. But in resources and development, as I've seen the pattern of old even sample papers and pre-boards of different schools, mainly of KVs and even the previous PYQs, I have observed that only 1 mark, that means the MCQs or objective type questions, will be asked from this chapter. So if you don't mind like putting a chance on that 1 mark, but if there is an objective type, you can play around. There will be given options and you obviously have read this chapter in your class, your teacher might have done it, so you can answer it. So if you want, please, it's okay, because this chapter is also very important, because if you see the whole geography index page, you will see water resources, minerals and energies, and manufacturing industries. They all come under resources and development only, and even lifeline of Indian economy. So moving on, so you might ask, what does the term resource refer to? So in this chapter, resource refer to anything that is available in our physical environment, okay, such as trees, example, that will satisfy our needs, and that will be technologically accessible. That means with a certain set of technology, like for example, if you want to access a tree, you might need to have a axe or a saw. So that is the appropriate technology that you need to access that resource. You need to have that technology. And next, it should be culturally acceptable. Many of the resources in our world aren't culturally accepted by many religions and whatnot, so it should be culturally acceptable by that community and whatnot, and it should be economically feasible. That means without spending a ton of money, you should get the resource. Not like that, it should be economically feasible, and that kind of a resource should benefit you somehow. All right, that is the definition of resource. Here obviously NCERT has given the standard definition. Moving on, we need to look at the relationship between human beings, physical environment, technology and institutions, and how they are interdependent with each other. See, as you can see, in the middle of this triangle, human beings are there, and human beings are accessing the physical nature or physical environment, aka nature, with the help of the appropriate technology. With the appropriate technology, human beings are accessing the nature, and then with accessing all of these resources present in the physical environment, they are building up their institutions. With the building of their institutions, they might get new technology. It's a full circle. Without technology, they might not access the resources. Without the resources, they can't build their institutions. Without the institutions, they might not get more technology. All right, so human beings have a lot to play when it comes to this interdependent relationship between nature, technology and institutions, and development of resources. Now we also have this classification of resources. We'll also study about this. Let's just look at it. All right, so one side we have nature and one side we have humans में आते हैं structures and institutions. Structures, ये building है, ये एक structure है, और institutions, that might be schools, that might be any administrative works or government structures, etc. And then we come to quantity and quality. We might increase the quantity, we might decrease the quality. We might increase the quality, we might decrease the quantity. All right, human beings have a lot to play in this. Okay, so next, moving on to the other side, we have nature Okay, just tick this off. We in nature we have renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable, which can be renewed, which can be reused, or which can be replenished by nature's own cycle or something. Non-renewable may, if you use it, they're gone. I mean, you can reuse it, but they will not be replenished. All right. So in non-renewable resources, we have recyclable, which can be renewed. I mean, by summer or purification processes, you can extract that metals or minerals like that, and you can reuse it. You can repurpose that metals, okay, which are called recyclable. You can recycle the plastic, right? And we have non-recyclable, that means fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are kind of belong to renewable resources because they will be renewed over time, but it takes 10 or more millions years more time to renew fossil fuels, so we put it under non-recyclable resources. All right, no confusion. Moving on, we in renewable resources we have continuous or flow. Continuous or flow में आता है wind or water. They will be replenished, I mean they will be replaced, or they will be recycling through a process. We have water cycle, we have learned water cycle, right? Like that. And then we have biological. Biological में आते हैं forests, wildlife, vegetations, humans, animals, etc. Learned this. Now moving on, we also have, okay, we also have the resources also can be classified in the following ways. Now if we look, one is on the base of origin. Origin का मतलब है यहाँ पर biotic और abiotic. Biotic का मतलब है living and abiotic का मतलब है non-living. We can give the example for biotic, like human beings. Humans as a resource you have studied in your class 9th, or animals or poultry, like that, biotic factors. And abiotic में आते हैं water and wind, sunlight, like that, abiotic, on the basis of origin. And on the basis of exhaustibility, we have learned already renewable and non-renewable resources. Renewable which can be renewed over time, right, like water, wind, etc, etc. But in non-renewable resources, if you have used it, they are done. You can recycle them, but there is a finite quantity of that resource on this earth. Okay, moving on. And we also have the on the basis of ownership, we have individual. Individual का मतलब है सिर्फ एक person will operate that resource, will have whole control over that resource. Like if I am a person who owns this building, who owns this tab, who owns this piece of sheet, that is an individual owned resource. These are resources. Next, moving on, community owned resource. We have parks, for example. Parks are community owned. Everyone can access it in the community. We have pastures in the villages, which every single villager can take their cows and can graze on it, on the pastures. And next we have national resources. National resources mein a really good example is roads, right? It is owned by the national and government buildings, etc, etc, which is owned by the government. Next we have international resources. NCERT has given a really good example when it comes to international resources, which you need to keep in mind. All right, international resources may for a really good example, NCERT has given that after 200 nautical miles from any coast of a country, see if this is a coast of country, after 200 nautical miles or somehow beyond that 200 nautical miles, that sea area which is there, that should not be touched by any individual, any country or anything, unless you have a permission of whole conference of countries. No one can access it. Nobody owns that right. All right, and everybody has signed some or something. Every country has done it not to access it, and under that 200 nautical miles it belongs to the country. Okay, next we have on the basis of status of development, we have potential resources. Potential resources may we can get an example of wind and solar energy in Rajasthan and Gujarat. There we can access all of these energies, but we haven't done it yet. Now we have developed resources, right? And we have developed resources, matlab they don't need any more developing. Okay, if they are resources, they don't need any more developing. This pen is best, it doesn't need any developing. All right, that is it. And we have stocks and reserves. Reserves is nothing but a subset of stocks. Stocks में आते हैं जो you cannot access that resource, you don't have the right technology to do so, right? That is what we call stocks and reserves, as the name suggests. All right, moving on. Now we have development of resource. When we use a lot of resource in the environment, that may cause us some problems, right? Obviously it will cause a lot of problems when you use a lot of resources in the environment, like हमारा बाप का है ये, right? So some of the things that NCERT has given is depletion of resources. So if you use that resources again and again and again, even water is kind of a finite quantity, right? If there is 21% of fresh water or something percentile of fresh water in this world, if you use all of that fresh water, nobody will have fresh water to drink, right? So it will take some time to replenish it. So if we keep on using it, we will it will cause that resources to deplete away. All right, so next we come to accumulation of resources in one hand. See, if we are exploiting resource, if a single person is exploiting a resource, like owning this plot of land and exploiting it over again for some agriculture base or anything, okay, if he's doing that, or if he's exploiting some other kind of a resources by himself, that is really bad, because all of the resources, all of so many resources are coming only under that one person's hand. And accumulation of resources is very bad, because that doesn't lead to economic development. Economic development happens when everyone is developing, not only one person. Okay, you will learn it in economics, that if one person develops, it is not economic development, it's just individual development. इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट जब होता है तब सारे लाइफस्टाइल्स की डेवलपमेंट हो. Okay, next it creates two new segments called the haves and the have nots. Obviously it will create a poor and rich wala situation, right? And next we have indiscriminate exploitation, which is kind of directly or indirectly connected to depletion of resources. Let's read it, okay? Indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crises such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation. See, we have indiscriminate exploitation of resources, matlab land degradation. If we have to talk about, we are exploiting the land for agricultural based, right? We are doing that, right? So that goes to land degradation. The quality of that land may change. So after a bit of time, that land's fertility may be lost, and it will cause to environmental pollution. Like you may have seen in the news that Delhi mein jo bahut sare you cannot go out in Delhi without a mask or proper barriers to so you avoid direct contact with the outer environment, because many people in Punjab and Haryana are burning off their grounds, their agricultural areas, right? So due to that indiscriminate exploitation, we are causing environmental pollution in the environment, right? And it is also leading to ozone layer depletion. The excess use of chlorofluorocarbons is leading to ozone layer depletion. And then we come to global warming. Obviously, if the ozone layer depletes, global warming will also occur, and even environmental pollution happens. It will also be a really good contributor to global warming. Not a good contributor, but a contributor. So moving on, we also have another topic, sustainable development. Sustainable development refers to a development should take place without damaging the environment. Okay, it should not damage the environment whatsoever, guys. All right, so if you want to develop yourself, you should not damage the environment. You should do it by not damaging the environment and taking care of that environment, because that is where you get the resources from, right? Understood? Moving on. And development in the present should not comprise with the needs of the future generation. What it means that if you're developing in the present, you need some resources. So in the present, you should not use all of the resources to develop yourself. In the future generations, like your kids, our kids, might need some resources for their development. So that is what called sustainable development, guys. So we also have a thing on sustainable development, that Earth Summit at Rio de Janeiro in English, that happened in June of 1992. More than 100 heads of states. इसमें 100 heads of states का मतलब है countries, okay, not states like Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Karnataka. No, not like that. 100 heads of states, they are indirectly referring to the countries like Russia, India, Japan, Korea, like that countries, okay. I mean their presidents, prime ministers, those people met in Rio de Janeiro, that is in Brazil, for the first international Earth Summit. This is also very important, okay. They set the 17 goals for sustainable development which should be achieved by 2030. They all signed this declaration, right? They are for the first international Earth Summit. So the summit was convened for addressing urgent problems for environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. So they're not only talking about economic development and what is that, environmental protection, they are also talking about socio-economic development. What socio-economic development means: socially and economically a country should develop. I mean there should be no poor, there should be no much rich people होंगे पर फिर भी चलेगा, but there should be the living standards of everyone should be above the average, okay. The earning cost should be average, right? So they all signed this declaration, right? The assembled leaders signed the declaration of global climate change and biological diversity. They have to take care of the environment. By then some of the ozone layer was depleting and everyone was like, oh my god, we have to give attention to this. Then they realized to do this. And the next Rio convention endorsed the global forest principles, right? They approached this, they adopted this forest principle to conserve this forest, conserve biodiversity, and adopted Agenda 21. So for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century, which we are in right now. Yeah. And next we have Agenda 21. It is the declaration signed by world leaders in 1992 at the UNCED, that is United Nations Conference on Environmental Development, all right, which also took place at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It aims at achieving global sustainable development. It is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation and common interests. See, every country's leader, like our prime minister or any other country's prime minister, even if they may be a dictator, they want what's best for their people. They want their people to have good lifestyle. They want their people to earn better, right? That leads to increasing the GDP maybe, right? So they all have common interests of making their people's life better for the future, in the future. So they all have common interests and mutual needs and shared responsibility. They have the responsibility of conserving their forests. If they don't take up the responsibility, who will? Right? Exactly. And next, moving on, one major objective of the Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. That is a really nice thing, that main objective that they made in Agenda 21, that every local government within a country, like if you are living in a colony, that colony's local government, whoever is the Panchayat Raj, he should make its own Agenda 21. It may be weekly planting trees or cleaning up their surroundings, like that they wanted to make. So with that, it will add little by little and the environment will be better in the future. Now we go on to, what is it? Resource planning. So why resource planning is important is all of the resources is scattered in India, or even if you speak in the world, right? So there are not many oil or fossil fuels reserves in India, but there are many in Venezuela, there are many in Russia, right? So we need that resources, many in UAE, United States of Emirates, right? So they have all of these oil reserves, they are sending us that, and we are also supplying with some of agricultural produces that we produce in India, right? So resources are not in everywhere or in every area, they are not scattered correctly. Okay, they're scattered, but they are not scattered in equal amounts. Okay, one, यहाँ पर ऑयल मिलता है और यहाँ पर अच्छा सा एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड है, यहाँ पर बहुत सारे रिवर्स है, यहाँ पर बैरन लैंड है. So we need some planning so the people in the barren land doesn't face drought and die. So the people in what bigger cities may not run out of oil like that. For that we need the resource planning, right? So moving on, that is why resource planning is very important, and resource planning is mainly important in a country like India. Global level to chhod do, we have to do resource planning in India, in our own country. In India, the major thing is in Ladakh you cannot grow many things there because it's really like cold climate, there's always snow most around the year, and only things we can grow there is apples and some of the other seasonal fruits that can be grown there. So much things cannot be grown in Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, like those places. All right, so but in those places there is a really good tourist attractions. They might go to see the Himachals, the Shivalik range, right? They may go to play in the snow in the winters, during winters. So that is a resource, right? That is a resource. Those tourist attractions that are bringing the people over there, that are people are going, will increase the GNP of that state, right? Exactly. Now moving on, and even when we look at the Chota Nagpur plateau, there is many resources like coal deposits and many aluminum ore deposits, right? Like that. So they were given an example. States like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh are rich in minerals and coal deposits. Arunachal Pradesh, abundance of water, right? But in Arunachal Pradesh there is a lack of infrastructure. So exactly. And in the state of Rajasthan, it's very well endowed with solar and wind energy but lacks water resources. Get it? So the resources are scattered within a country. By evolving a plan, by making a plan, we make it so that everyone within the country gets equal distribution of the resources. Okay, next we move on to resource planning in India. So we have three major steps when it comes to resource planning in India. That first is identification and inventory of resources across the regions. So first we need to know what is found where. Okay, in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, if we find coal, okay, we find coal. We do a survey, we do a mapping, right? Okay, this is the area where we find coal. This is the area where there is more alluvial soil for agriculture, right? We do that, and then we estimate the quality and quantity of that resource. If the quality is not good, no one can use it. If the quality of the crude oil that is being extracted in some countries, or maybe even India, it's not good and it's not up to the mark, it's not fully done, we cannot use it. It might be harmful to us, right? So that is why we need to do a really good estimation and measurement of qualitative and quantitative. We are just checking the quality and quantity of that resource. How is that resource? Can we use it? Can we release into the outer environment so people can access that resource? There is enough quantity so everyone can have that resource? Like that we need to estimate. Next is evolving a planning structure endowed with appropriate technology, skill and institutional setup for implementing resource development plans. So if we find coal's good quality and there is a lot of quantity, like for example in Jammu and Kashmir we found a lot of lithium. If we don't have the skills, technology and institutions to access that lithium, it's a waste. क्या कर सकते हैं लिथियम को वहां पर रख के? नहीं ना, उस लिथियम को हमें एक्सेस भी करना है, बाहर भी तो निकालना है, right? So we need that plans for the development, which should have the right skills, the right technology, and the right institutional setups. And moving on, we have matching the resource development plans with overall national development plans. So if we did all of this surveying, if we did all of the extraction and whatnot, we should do something with those resources, right? If there is more energy in Rajasthan, we should supply that energy to Arunachal Pradesh. If there is water in Arunachal Pradesh, we might transfer it to Rajasthan, right? So that is how we need to implement plans. Okay, we should match the resource development plans with the overall national development plans. Next, we also have a 5-year plan. In from the first 5-year plan, India has made concentrated efforts for achieving the global goals of resource planning right from first 5-year plan launch after independence. So moving on, we have conservation of resources. Resource are obviously we know baba ab tak aa chuke hai, we know what are resources and why are they important for our development. Okay, development ko chhod do, leave development, that is secondary. Okay, we don't need all of us to come in the top always. Okay, but we want our people to be satisfied, we want our people to be living in the best conditions. For that, resources are really important, right? Development secondary बात है वो. Okay, पर हमें जो अपने लोग हैं वो अच्छे खासे रहनी चाहिए, है ना? तो इसीलिए we need resources. But if we use all of these resources, like for example in economics you have an example of groundwater depletion. We had good groundwater levels, but after exploiting it over and over and again, it depleted. So there is less groundwater levels if we do a survey of India right now, right? So we are using these resources indiscriminately, like we studied in the above parts. And with this indiscriminate use of resources, the resources are depleting away. So that is why we need conservation of resources. We need to make some plans. So we should conserve these resources, right? So and we have irrational consumption. Okay, but this is mainly due to the reason given behind this is everybody's greed. So if I get my hands on some gold or something like that, I would want more. I'd exploit that gold until it's depleted away, until it's done for, right? So and overutilization of resources may lead to socioeconomic and environmental problems. Obviously, if we need some iron or aluminum, we'll exploit it. That may lead to many of the problems. So if we need mining, if we have to do mining to extract iron, aluminum, copper, etc., right? That might lead to deforestation, right? That might lead to some other environmental noise pollution, it may be, or thermal pollution, or environment pollution, water pollution, right? So all of this has indirectly affected our environment, all right, and it may lead to socioeconomic problems because the development may be hindered in the future. If we are using all of our resources in our environment, within a country's environment, we'll be at the top, but after like 5 or 6 years, we won't have enough resources to even survive. Bare minimum हमें survive करने के लिए भी resource नहीं होंगे. So that is why conservation of resources is very important even at this time. And Mahatma Gandhi has given a really good quote saying that there is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. Okay, there is enough in our environment. We should stop being like, oh my god, we need more of this. No, there is enough for everybody's needs, not for anybody's greed. All right, so moving on, we have this small is beautiful wala section. We'll just read it and we'll end this session. All right, so at the international level, the Club of Rome advocates resource conservation for the first time in a more systematic way in 1968. Subsequently, in 1974, Gandhian philosophy was once again presented by Shishmers in his book Small is Beautiful. The seminal contribution with respect to resource conservation at the global level was made by Burtonland Commission report 1987. This report introduced the concept of sustainable development. This is a resource, they might ask you for the 1 marks, which report introduced sustainable development in 1890. in 1987. They might ask you for the 1 marks, and advocated it as a means of resource conservation, which was subsequently published in a book titled Our Common Future. Another significant contribution was made at the Earth Summit of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. So here we end this chapter. We concluded, let me just conclude. We studied what is resources. We studied about the interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institution. We saw various methods of classifying resources. We know development of resources, and we saw sustainable development. We also saw resource planning. We also saw how resource planning is important. We also saw resource planning in India, and we also read about Rio de Janeiro in Brazil 1992 summit, and we also studied about Agenda 21 and its main objectives. And then we also studied about conservation of resources and why it's important for our future. So I would like to end this session. Thank you for sticking with us. In the next session, there will be only one session, another session of this chapter, in which we are going to talk about land utilization, land use patterns, and then soil types, right? And soil erosion, and land degradation and conservation measures. All right. So thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. Hello everyone, and welcome to Subject Academy Learner. I'm your Pavan. So we are going to be continuing the chapter that we are doing, that is resources and development, of course. So after the session, I'll also be taking the PYQ session, where we will discuss some of the most good objective type questions. ठीक है, हम वो उसके बारे में सब कुछ जानेंगे. ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप्स कैसे अटेंड करने हैं बोर्ड्स में, और कैसे ऑप्शंस को एलिमिनेट कर कर सही ऑप्शंस में लाना है. ओके, इवन आप गेस कर कर लिखते हो तो कुछ एक्यूरेसी होनी चाहिए उस गेस पे भी. तो हम वो सीखेंगे. फिर हम आज की सेशन में पूरा लैंड रिसोर्सेस, लैंड यूटिलाइजेशन, land use pattern in India, and then we are also फिर से land degradation and conservation measures, and soil as a resource, और soil erosion के बारे में we'll discuss, and conservation, right? So we have a lot to cover today, so we are going to be moving very fast. Okay, ठीक है, थोड़ी रफ्तार बढ़ानी चाहिए हमें. सो चलो, जब हम लैंड एज अ रिसोर्स पढ़ते हैं, वी नो दैट लैंड इज ऑल्सो अ रिसोर्स बिकॉज वी लिव ऑन लैंड. वॉट एवर द 99.9% of the economic activities, commerce, trade, agriculture, etc., manufacturing, etc., are being done on land. So land हमें क्या है? रिसोर्स है, बहुत important रिसोर्स है. Okay, हम क्योंकि we don't live in the sea. Okay, we don't live in air, we live on land, right? So land is a valuable resource. Okay, we are going to learn about this. So we have been given a pie chart, right? So in which the 43% is covered with the plains, and the 27% is covered with the plateaus, and 30% is covered with the mountains. Okay, land under important relief features. These are all the relief features which you have learned in the previous classes, right? This is about India. Okay, this graph is related to India. Okay, so 43% plains, 30% mountains, and 27% plateaus. Now moving on. So this is only about whatever the pie chart given. We have analyzed it here, so we don't need to cover it, right? So moving on. Land utilization. Obviously all of the land that we are living in is divided into its own separate classifications, right? Agricultural land, the land we live on, like that classifications there are, right? So हमें जानना है कि ये किस काम के लिए इस्तेमाल होती है। ये जो जगह है, ये एक जगह कुछ उगाने के लिए, कुछ करने के लिए, या जीवन जीने के लिए, हाँ, पता पता लगानी है कि ये लैंड कैसी यूटिलाइज हो रही है लोगों से। ठीक है, चलो पढ़ते हैं। सो लैंड रिसोर्सेस आर यूज्ड फॉर द फॉलोइंग पर्पसेस। पहला है फॉरेस्ट, सेकंड फॉरेस्ट रिजर्व्ड हो या कुछ और फॉरेस्ट हो, हम जानेंगे अगली चैप्टर में। वो जो भी फॉरेस्ट है वो फॉरेस्ट एरिया है। ओके, 3 तरह के फॉरेस्ट होते हैं, उन सभी 3 तरह के फॉरेस्ट में ये फॉरेस्ट क्लासिफाई किया है। पहला है ये फॉरेस्ट, दूसरा है लैंड नॉट अवेलेबल फॉर कल्टीवेशन, मतलब जो कि ये बैरन वेस्ट लैंड्स है, जो राजस्थान या पार्ट ऑफ गुजरात में होती है, जो बहुत सारी एरिड है, और इरिगेशन करेंगे तो उस लैंड पे हम उगा सकते हैं, पर वो इतना कॉस्ट बढ़ जाएगा, ठीक है, इरिगेशन करने में और उस सॉइल की फर्टिलिटी बढ़ाने में। तो इसीलिए वो बैरन और वेस्टलैंड जो छोड़ दिया गया है उसको टच ही नहीं करेंगे, बैरन, ठीक है, बैरन और वेस्टलैंड। एंड उसमें भी 2 तरह की क्लासिफिकेशन होता है, जो है लैंड पुट टू नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल यूजेस, मतलब बिल्डिंग, रोड्स, फैक्ट्रीज। ऑब्वियसली ये बैरन लैंड और वेस्टलैंड को छोड़ देंगे नहीं, हम छोड़ते हैं क्या? नहीं, उस पर भी बिल्डिंग्स बनवा लिए, रोड बनवा लिए, फैक्ट्रीज बनवा लिए, हाँ, किसी तरह से यूज तो करना ही है। वो जो पढ़ेंगे तो क्या क्या इस्तेमाल हुआ उसका। तीसरा है अंडर कल्टिवेटेड लैंड एक्सक्लूडिंग फैलो लैंड। सी, अदर अनकल्टिवेटेड लैंड का मतलब है जो कल्टिवेटेबल है, जो यू कैन कल्टिवेट समथिंग इन इट, बट इट इज नॉट being used for that. So in that there are 3 subtopics, that is permanent pastures and grazing land. दूसरा है land under miscellaneous tree crops, groves. groves का मतलब है जो like plant होता है, just like trees in a rows या bunch में, you know, they would have planted those trees and whatnot. So and under tree crops like apples हो गया, like that, right, tree crops. And then next is cultivable wasteland left uncultivated for more than 5 agriculture. 5 agricultural years का मतलब like it comprises of 6 months to 12 months. Okay, it depends upon the plant you're growing. For like a sugar cane to grow, you would need like a full on year for that. sugar cane का agricultural year कितना हुआ? 12 मंथ हुआ। और किसी और का जो पी प्लांट लेते हैं वो उसका तो 3 मंथ है एग्रीकल्चरल ईयर। सो वी टेक इट टू 6 मंथ टू 12 मंथ एग्रीकल्चरल ईयर जब कंसिडर करते हैं तो, ठीक है, हम फुल 12 महीने नहीं लेते, ठीक है। इन दोनों में बीच में कुछ एग्रीकल्चरल ईयर्स आता है, वो एस्टिमेट कर लेंगे एग्रीकल्चरल ईयर कह के, ठीक है, पूरे 12 महीने नहीं, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट, कल्चरल वेस्टलैंड का मतलब जो ट्राइबल पीपल है वो कल्चरली वो छोड़ने के लिए मानेंगे नहीं, उन लैंड पर सदियों से रहकर आ रहे हैं, वो छोड़ेंगे नहीं, है ना। इसीलिए हमारी गवर्नमेंट क्या कर सकती है, उनको वहां से हटाएंगी तो नहीं, हाँ, बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम होंगे, ठीक है। इसीलिए वो वेस्टलैंड कल्चरली वेस्टलैंड माना गया है, ठीक है। हम है कल्चरल वेस्टलैंड वो जो लेफ्ट अनकल्टिवेटेड फॉर मोर देन 5 एग्रीकल्चरल ईयर्स। नेक्स्ट, और इसमें फैलो लैंड आता है, जो करंट फैलो लेफ्ट विदाउट कल्टिवेशन फॉर 1 or less than 1 agricultural year. So this is like less than 6 months or bit more than 6 months. So next, other than current fallow left uncultivated for past 1 to 5 agricultural years. Okay, so 1 to 5 agricultural years जो वहां पर कुछ उगाया ही नहीं, ठीक है, उसको इस्तेमाल ही नहीं किया है उगाने के लिए या फिर कुछ करने के लिए, तो वो अनकल्टिवेटेड एरिया है, ठीक है। और नेक्स्ट इज Net sown area, the physical extent of land on which crops are sown, हार्वेस्टेड इज नोन एज नेट सोन एरिया, लाइक एग्रीकल्चरल यूज के लिए जो होते हैं, जो इंडिया इज लाइक अ वेरी मच एग्रीकल्चरल काइंड ऑफ अ कंट्री, आई हैव टू से, बिकॉज लाइक इंडियाज बैकबोन इंडस्ट्री इज एग्रीकल्चर. जो प्राइमरी सेक्टर है, जो बड़ी सी प्राइमरी सेक्टर है, उसमें मोर देन हाफ ऑफ द पीपल आर एम्प्लॉयड इन एग्रीकल्चर, राइट. इट इज even from the start of independence we gave more importance to agriculture, not to commerce, not to trade, not to manufacturing or anything like that. When agriculture just increased, all of these industries like manufacturing हुआ, वो सभी increase हुए, trade और commerce वो सब increase हुए. ठीक है. तो नेक्स्ट वो ग्रॉस क्रॉप्ड एरिया के बारे में पूछ सकते हैं, लाइक एमसीक्यूज में. एरिया सोन मोर देन वंस इन एन एग्रीकल्चर ईयर्स प्लस नेट सोन एरिया इज नोन एज ग्रॉस क्रॉप्ड एरिया. देंगे तो नहीं, पर पूछ सकते हैं. ठीक है, लेट्स नेक्स्ट है लैंड यूज पैटर्न इन इंडिया. आई एम गोइंग टू गिव यू अ स्मॉल होमवर्क. इफ यू वांट टू डू इट यू कैन, लाइक इफ यू वांट, yeah. So what I want you to do is just analyze this land use pattern जो है, ये है, और कितना, हाँ यहाँ तक एनालाइज करूं, क्योंकि जो ये ग्राफ जो हमने पढ़ा है, ये जो लैंड यूटिलाइजेशन है, जो उनको ही सिर्फ एलॉबरेट कर और क्या एग्जाम्पल्स देकर दिया है, किस स्टेट में क्या ज्यादा है, इसमें फैलो, इसमें पैस्चर्स, वैसा दिया है. ठीक है. और इसको भी if you want you can analyze it, okay, but they will obviously not give it in your boards. So next we have land degradation and conservation measures. Obviously land degradation जब होता है, जब like we dump all of our waste into the environment, right? Whatever the industries that we have right now, industrial effluents that we have right now, we are dumping them onto the land. We are digging up the land and we are dumping it and we are closing it over like nothing happened, right? That causes land degradation, right? Human activities have not only brought about degradation of land but have also aggravated the pace of natural forces to cause damage to land, obviously. Excuse me. So when you destroy a forest, you destroy a whole ecological balance. You cannot restore that ecological balance in like just 1 year, just like by planting trees. That is what I hate about this thing. Like you think, oh, जब हम deforestation करेंगे, afforestation भी कर देंगे, ठीक हो जाएगा. नहीं. Like whatever the balance that forest had, it will take many years, like more than 20-30 years to restore that biological balance, because there's a food chain, there is a very complex food chain that is happening in that forest. Okay, there are many complex microorganisms living, right? So for all of that to work properly, for all of that to be a proper forest, it will take many years. Right? That is also what happening in land degradation. All right, so when people are like, oh my god, deforestation कर दिया, afforestation कर देंगे, सभी ठीक हो जाएगा. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होगा. ठीक है. और one of the some of the main problems, ये important mark कर लो. ठीक है. Some of the main human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining, quarrying have to contribute significantly to land degradation. डिफॉरेस्टेशन में हम जो पेड़ वगैरह वगैरह काटते हैं, उससे लैंड डिग्रेडेशन होगा. मतलब वी आर क्लियरिंग अप दैट लैंड, राइट? वी आर यूजिंग इट फॉर सम और सम पर्पस, और टू डंप द whatever the waste. And then we have overgrazing. Obviously overgrazing will result to like, just like if there is a plot of land like this, if you graze it over and over and again, you don't even give it one day of break, it will not grow anymore. There'll be like nothing, like, right? There'll be nothing. So what farmers do, what herders do is they walk around the whole circle. See, आज इस जगह में घास खिलवा दी, अब यहाँ पर आएंगे और कल यहाँ पर आएंगे, फिर से यहाँ पर। ऐसा होनी चाहिए। जब हम सिर्फ एक ही प्लॉट में अटकते रहेंगे तो ओवर ग्रेजिंग से लैंड डिग्रेडेशन ऑब्वियसली इट विल हैपन, राइट। नेक्स्ट इज माइनिंग। ऑब्वियसली माइनिंग के लिए हम क्या करते हैं, खुदाई करते हैं बहुत, और वो भी बहुत सारे पोल्यूशंस ला बैठता है। जब वाटर पोल्यूशन हो, एयर पोल्यूशन, नॉइस पोल्यूशन, सभी आते हैं उसके से माइनिंग के साथ। और क्वारिंग तो सेम ही है माइनिंग जैसा, राइट। हम बहुत माइनिंग से भी डिग करते हैं डीप से, ठीक है। वी डिग डीप इन क्वारिंग व्हेन वी आर क्वारिंग, ओके। सिग्निफिकेंटली इन लोगों ने कंट्रीब्यूट किया है लैंड डिग्रेडेशन में। और माइनिंग, ऑब्वियसली व्हेन वी गो टू माइनिंग एंड मिनरल्स, वी टॉक अबाउट झारखंड, छत्तीसगढ़, मध्य प्रदेश एंड ओडिशा में क्या है, डिफॉरेस्टेशन ड्यू टू माइनिंग हैपनिंग है, ओके। डिफॉरेस्टेशन कर माइनिंग कर रहा है ये लोग, ठीक है, और ये सब हो रहा है। एंड गुजरात, राजस्थान, मध्य प्रदेश, महाराष्ट्र में ओवर ग्रेजिंग, एंड देन पंजाब, हरियाणा, वेस्टर्न उत्तर प्रदेश ओवर इरिगेशन से हो रहा है, ओके। And then irrigation is responsible for land degradation due to water logging leading to increase in salinity and alkaline. Alkaline मतलब salt content ज़्यादा होना, salt या basic content ज़्यादा होना। जब when you clog up a lot of water is coming in and it's not going there, all of those minerals will sit at the bottom or be concentrated at a particular place, right? If you go to a dam, you might feel that it's like very salty because that water has been there for a long time and all of the things have settled down or concentrated in there, right? So that is the problem when we do over irrigation. So Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh में over irrigation. Next जब हम बात करें, so कंजर्वेशन मेजर्स भी पढ़ लेंगे. सो देर आर मेनी वेज टू सॉल्व दिस प्रॉब्लम ऑफ लैंड डिग्रेडेशन. एफोरेस्टेशन इज वन, एंड देन प्लांटिंग शेल्टर belts, or control on overgrazing, stabilization of sand dunes by growing thorny bushes. Some of the methods to check land degradation in arid areas, like in Rajasthan, like जो ये sand dunes होते हैं, sand. See what is happening in like around the areas of Rajasthan. There's like a wind which comes from northwest, okay, that goes through Rajasthan and towards like the east, जो है साउथ ईस्ट की तरफ जाता है. नॉर्थ वेस्ट से साउथ ईस्ट तरफ जाता है. जब वो आता है वो विंड सम टाइम में ईयर में, like when it flows through Rajasthan, it takes all of the sand and deposits into the neighboring states. So in few years, if we didn't control these sand dunes, stabilization of sand dunes नहीं करेंगे, तो दूसरे स्टेट्स है वो भी राजस्थान बन जाएंगे. ओके, सो हम जब ये शेल्टर बेल्ट्स प्लान करते हैं, जो प्लान करते हैं सैंड ड्यून्स और ग्रोइंग थॉर्नी बुशेस, वो कंट्रोल करता है, वो स्टेबलाइज करता है सैंड ड्यून्स को, जो ये सैंड उड़कर दूसरे स्टेट में नहीं चला जाएगा इसीलिए. ओके, नेक्स्ट जब है प्रॉपर मैनेजमेंट ऑफ वेस्टलैंड्स, कंट्रोल ऑफ माइनिंग एक्टिविटीज, प्रॉपर डिस्चार्ज एंड डिस्पोजल ऑफ industrial effluents and wastes after treatment can reduce land and water degradation in industrial and suburban areas. हमने जितने भी ये पढ़ा था यहाँ पर, ओवर डिफोरेस्टेशन, क्वारिंग, माइनिंग, इसके ऑपोजिट है. ये वो चीज़ हो रही है, उन चीज़ों को कंट्रोल या बंद करनी चाहिए. Soil as a resource पढ़ेंगे. Soil as a resource is very important because we get all of the food from it, directly or indirectly. We get all of the minerals, all of the things, right? We take this soil profiles. There are mainly 4 layers in this soil profile, that is topsoil, the upper soil layer, subsoil, weathered rocks and sand and silt clay, substratum, weathered parent rock material, unweathered parent bedrock. And next we come to classification of soil. India's varied relieved features, landforms, climate realms, and vegetation types. These significantly contribute to the development of various types of soil. First है alluvial soil, which are mainly used for agriculture because they are rich in minerals. Okay, and they are found in the deposits of three main important Himalayan rivers, that is the Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. These soils also extend into Rajasthan, Gujarat through a narrow corridor. And then alluvial south में हम आएंगे, particular deltas होंगे, महानदी, गोदावरी, कृष्णा और कावेरी रिवर्स में alluvial soil पाया जाता है. ओके, ठीक है, मूविंग ऑन. Alluvial soil consists of various sand, silt and clay. और so such soils are common, like examples कहाँ पर common है, दुरास, छौस and तहरी में common है. Okay, Piedmont plains. Apart from the size of their grain or component, soil are also described on the basis of their age. Bhangar, you have studied in your class, Bhangar or Kadar. Bhangar is old alluvial and Kadar is new alluvial, which is like comes from depositing of the water, like river or जब river बह कर आता है जो it brings a lot of waste or whatever which decomposes and becomes khadar. Okay, next moving on, we alluvial soils hold very fertile. Most of these soils contain adequate proportions of potash, phosphoric acid and lime, which are very important to grow plants, right? And high fertility regions of alluvial soil are intensely cultivated and densely populated. जब intensely cultivated होगा तो densely populated obviously. Next जब हम करेंगे black soil. Black soil black color होता है इसीलिए black soil बोलते हैं, और इसमें कॉटन बहुत उगाया जाता है और ये पाया जाता है प्लेन्स ऑफ महाराष्ट्र, सिद्धराज, मलवा, मध्य प्रदेश एंड छत्तीसगढ़ में. ओके, एक्सटेंड इनटू साउथ ईस्ट डायरेक्शन अलोंग द रिवर्स ऑफ गोदावरी एंड कृष्णा वैलीज. ओके, ठीक है. दे आर मेड अप ऑफ क्लेई मटेरियल्स and they have a capacity to hold moisture. In addition to, they have rich in soil nutrients such as calcium carbonate, CaCO3, magnesium, potash and lime. So we have this map. इस चैप्टर से मैप तो आएगी नहीं, तो इस पेज को skip कर लेंगे. ठीक है, किसी को बताना मत. Okay, so they are poor. Black soil is poor in phosphoric contents. Or you have seen many places, no, like in like summer time, it's like there are like a lot of cracks. So that happens with black soil. They develop deep cracks during hot weather, which helps in the proper aeration of the soil. Right? These soils are sticky when wet and difficult to work on unless tilled immediately after the first shower or during the pre-monsoon period. ठीक है. और नेक्स्ट है रेड और येलो सॉइल में. रेड सॉइल क्यों होता है? इंडिया क्रिस्टलाइन इंजियस रॉक्स इन एरियाज ऑफ लो रेनफॉल इन द ईस्टर्न एंड साउदर्न पार्ट्स ऑफ द डेक्कन प्लेट्यू. And yellow and red soils are also found in the parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern part of the middle Ganga plain and along the Piedmont zone of Western Ghats. रेडिश कलर ये क्यों होता है? बहुत लाइक आयरन कंटेंट होता है इसीलिए रेडिश कलर आता है. यू हैव सीन लाइक हीमोग्लोबिन इन आवर ब्लड, दैट इज रेड ड्यू टू द आयरन कंटेनिंग पिगमेंट होता है, इसीलिए हमारा ब्लड रेड होता है. इसीलिए भी रेड सॉइल होता है. और ये येलो कब बदल जाता है? जब it occurs in a hydrated form. Okay, you have seen water of crystallization, वैसा ही समझ लो. Next, latered soil has been derived from the word of latter, which means brick in Latin. Okay, Latin is a language. The latter soil develops under tropical and subtropical climate, which alternate wet and dry season. This soil is the result of intense leaching due to heavy rainfall. वो पूछ सकते हैं intense leaching के कारण से कैसा सॉइल बनता है. ओके, दे विल गिव यू ऑप्शनल ह्यूमल सॉइल, ब्लैक सॉइल, रेड येलो सॉइल या लैटरेट सॉइल. क्या लगाएंगे आप? लैटरेट सॉइल लगाना है. ठीक है, इसका बहुत एसिडिक कंटेंट होता है. एसिडिक कंटेंट 7 से नीचे आया तो वो एसिडिक हुआ, 7 से ऊपर आया तो वो बेसिक हुआ. तो ये 6 के नीचे है तो ऑब्वियसली क्या हुआ? एसिडिक हुआ. Generally deficient in plant nutrients and occur mostly in southern states such as Western Ghats region of Maharashtra, Odisha, some parts of West Bengal, northeast regions. Okay, and they are also rich in humus, right? And they soil support deciduous and evergreen forests. Okay, यहाँ पर देख सकते एक पिक्चर दिया हुआ है लैटरेट सॉइल का. ओके, मूविंग ऑन. वेजिटेशन इन सेमी एरिड एनवायरनमेंट, इट इज जनरली हमस पोर. ओके, moving on from that, they are prone to erosion, degradation due to their position and landscape. Obviously they are fine in like high kind of low kind of hilltops, right? That's why they are very much prone to erosion, like wind erosion होगा या water से running water से होगा erosion या degradation होगा. So after adopting appropriate soil conservation techniques, particularly in the hilly areas of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, this soil is very useful for growing tea and coffee. Red laterite soils in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Kerala are more suitable for crops like cashew nut. And next moving on to arid soils. Arid soils पाए जाते हैं कहाँ पर? राजस्थान पर. Okay, they lack humus. Obviously arid क्यों बोला जाता है? Moisture नहीं होता इसीलिए arid बोला, arid soils बोला जाता है. Range from red to brown in color. And then moving on, we have forest soils, which are mainly found in hilly and mountainous areas where sufficient rain forests are available. Next, the texture varies according to the mountain environment of where they are found. They are loomy and silty in valley sides and chorus green in upper slopes. Chorus का मतलब like it's like grainy, you know. In the snow-covered areas of Himalayas में snow covering होता है. These soils experience denudation, nutrition, and are acidic with low humus content. These soils found in the lower parts of valleys, particularly on river terraces and alluvial fans, are fertile. And next we have soil erosion. Soil erosion, obviously we have to talk about gullies when we talk about sand erosion. Whenever the water is like flowing downwards, it creates these like kind of quarries, like mini quarries, right? So like running water cuts through the clay soils and makes deep channels. All of this results in like ये clay substance आ रहा है यहाँ पर और soil जो erode आके नीचे आ रहा है. Okay, it is causing land erosion. The land becomes unfit for cultivation, is also known as bad land. This in the Chambal basin, such lands are called ravines. Okay, sometimes water flows as a sheet over large areas down a slope. In such cases the top soil is washed away. Obviously when we have like soil like this we have soil, जब ये पानी आए ये सब चला जाता है, top sheet ही चला जाता है. Okay, and then this is known as sheet erosion. और जब arid regions में, जब राजस्थान में कैसा erosion हो, पानी तो नहीं है तो water erosion तो नहीं होगा, तो इसलिए wind erosion होगा वहाँ पर. ओके, विंड एरोजन, विंड से. ओके, जब मैंने बताया था ना लाइक विंड जब आएगा राजस्थान से दूसरे स्टेट्स को डिपॉजिट कर जाएगा वैसा. और प्लाविंग इन रॉन्ग वे, दैट इज अप एंड डाउन द स्लोप्स फ्रॉम चैनल्स फॉर द क्विक फ्लो ऑफ वाटर लीडिंग टू soil erosion. Now we learn about conservation measures. Plowing along the counter lines can decelerate the flow of water down the slopes. this is called counter plowing. Okay, plowing along the counter में जब प्लो करेंगे लाइंस कैन प्रॉपर डिसलेट द फ्लो ऑफ वाटर डाउन द स्लोप्स. ओके, जो ये स्लोप्स बनाकर आएंगे, हम कैसे करते हैं प्लॉइंग, ऐसे शीट्स ऐसे करें, पर लाइक काउंटर पर जब करेंगे वहां पर जो वाटर का फ्लो है वो नीचे आने से रोकता है. ओके, हमें रोकना होगा नीचे आने से. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट मूविंग ऑन. स्टेप्स कैन बी कट out on the slopes making terraces. Terrace cultivation restricts erosion. Terrace cultivation आपने पढ़ा होगा, लाइक ऐसे टेरेस माउंटेनस टेरेस होता है, इसीलिए जो सॉइल है हम जहाँ पर कल्टीवेट करेंगे वो पानी बह कर आ जाता है सॉइल भी, तो इसीलिए हम टेरेस कल्टीवेशन जब करेंगे यहाँ पर एक वॉल जैसी बनाई होती है, यहाँ पर हम उगाते हैं, तो जब प्लांट होता है वो सॉइल इरोजन को रोकते हैं. ओके, नेक्स्ट, large fields can be divided into strips of grass are left to grow between these crops. See, if you have like trees, see, if you have planted something like this and you have like trees all over here covering, like making this like a grove, water erosion and wind erosion is slightly happening right here, because all of these root systems, whatever they are surrounding the land, they will control the water erosion, right? And even like if you do like a patches of grass, water इस तरफ आने के chances तो बहुत कम है, क्योंकि the roots will restrict the movement. Okay, they will stop, they hold up their soil and they stop the movement of water. Okay, so यहाँ पर rows of such trees are called shelter belts. हम ऐसे shelter belts कहते हैं जो फार्म में, और ये आने से रोकता है. when we do it in a, यहाँ पर एक ट्री, 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 वाटर इरोजन तो होने के चांसेस बहुत है. जब हम शेल्टर बेल्ट्स में लगाते हैं तब वाटर इरोजन नहीं होगा. ओके, दैट इज व्हाट्स कॉल्ड शेल्टर बेल्ट्स में प्लांट करना, और रोज में. ओके, दीज शेल्टर बेल्ट्स हैव कंट्रीब्यूटेड सिग्निफिकेंटली टू द स्टेबलाइजेशन ऑफ सैंड ड्यून्स एंड इन stabilizing the desert in western India. Not only in water erosion they can help, they also contribute in sand dunes. Like some other states are implementing this to prevent their land from becoming like next Rajasthan, so they are planting these shelter belts of trees which have contributed significantly in stabilizing of sand dunes. Okay, and even stabilizing the forest in India. Okay, so we have officially completed the chapter kind of in 30 minutes, like half chapter. We read about land resource, why is it important, land utilization. मैंने होमवर्क दिया है आप लोगों को, ठीक है. even if you don't like write it in a specific thing, go to the NCERT textbook, go through this land use pattern in India and analyze this, because like I'm not telling you to analyze this whatever the pie chart for your boards. Okay, I am not saying that this can come. I'm 100% sure this will not come whatsoever. Okay, this whatever the land use pattern in India, उसमें क्वेश्चंस अराइज होने के 0.0001% चांस भी नहीं है. ओके, सो चिंता मत लो. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग दिस एज सो यू कैन डेवलप योर एनालिटिकल स्किल्स. ओके, जो हमने एनालाइज किया यहाँ पर वो ही यहाँ पर लिखा है. हम इस सबको पढ़ने से हम ये ही एक फिगर देखकर समझ जाएंगे ये इतना परसेंट है, ये इतना परसेंट है. वो इस पैराग्राफ में भी वो ही दिया है ना, लाइक इंडिया हैज लैंड एंड वेरियस रिलीफ फीचर्स. पता चल गया माउंटेन्स, प्लेट्यूज और प्लेन्स, और 43%, 30% और 29% दिया ही है. वहां पर भी बहुत अच्छे से भी दिया है, कलरफुल. हाँ, इसीलिए आई एम जस्ट गिविंग दिस एज अ होमवर्क. सो you just sit down and analyze it, whatever the given data, you analyze it. This will also help in your English to writing analytical paragraphs, right? और केस बेस्ड जो मिलता है अनसीन पैसेज में, केस बेस्ड एक आता है ना, लाइक 10 मार्क्स के लिए, उसमें भी हेल्प करेगी आपको. ओके, नाउ मूविंग ऑन. In the next session, I'm going to be doing PYQs and some other objective type questions that I've found on the internet or that I have made. Okay, we'll be doing that, because even like there is a chance that you will get like 2 marks or 1 marks from this chapter, और ये chapter को skip ही कर देंगे. ओके वो बहुत बड़ा सा चैप्टर है आपका एग्रीकल्चर. बस पढ़ने में आई यूज्ड टू बी लाइक आई कैन नॉट डू दिस चैप्टर, बट जब मैंने बोर्ड्स पे देखा सिर्फ 1 मार्क्स का आया था बच्चा, वो भी गेस वर्क करने में. जो लाइक ये है खारिफ क्रॉप, ये इसको इस टेम्परेचर में उगाया जाता है, ये कौन सा क्रॉप है बता दो, बता दिया. हाँ 1 मार्क्स भी मिल गया, पढ़ा भी नहीं एग्रीकल्चर को. तो इसीलिए please give importance to some important chapters that you have in history, geography, pol science, economics, right? So when you give importance to that, it will guarantee you some like 3 marks, 2 marks और 5 marks के या फिर केस बेस्ड स्टडी की क्वेश्चंस है उनमें गारंटी देंगे. 1 marks, okay fine, if you want that 1 marks, please do study. I'm not telling you not to, but if you have like a common sense and you have listened to some lectures in your class or here, or you just glance the chapter, you can answer that. I'm telling you can answer it. Even how specifically or how pinned down the question is, you can answer it. Okay, so I'm going to be ending this video on a positive note. Thank you for watching. Subject Academy Learner. I'm Pavan, your history and geography teacher. Okay, please do like the video, comment down below what other topics I should be covering, and if you have any sort of questions related to this, please do comment down below. Either I'll make a shot of it and upload it so you can personally see it, or I'll re-comment on it. Okay, or I'll post something. Okay, but the main thing is you need to be clear of your doubts. Whatever the doubts you have, please do clear with us. Okay, और जिसने पूछा प्रिंट कल्चर इम्पोर्टेंट है वो भी करूँगा मैं. ओके, आई विल ऑल्सो डू दैट. ओके, डोंट वरी, वी आर कवरिंग एवरीथिंग बिफोर योर बोर्ड्स. और हम मैप सेशंस भी करेंगे. ये मैप तो नहीं आ रहा तो स्किप कर लो, कुछ भी नहीं जाता, स्किप कर लो, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क यू टू मार्क लाइक ये इस एरिया को मार्क करो, इस एरिया को मार्क करो, इस एरिया को मार्क करो. जो लाइक मैप में आता है स्पेसिफिकली, दंडी आया तो यहाँ पर ही मार्क करना, अमृतसर यहाँ आया तो यहाँ पर ही मार्क करना, वैसा आएगा. यहाँ पर लाइक ब्लैक सॉइल कहाँ पर मिलता है वो सभी एरिया को ये जो शेड है वो करता जाता है, नहीं वैसा तो नहीं होगा. ओके, दे विल नॉट गिव यू लाइक दैट. So thank you for watching Sal. Again and again I'm saying this, I'm sorry, but keep studying. It's your boards. Take it a bit seriously, but not too seriously, because you know you gotta have some fun, right? So once again, thank you for watching. Please like the video, please comment down below, and if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to our channel.